Our 10 minutes is up. We are now back in session, and with that, we're going to move on to our next topic. Hello, over there, thanks. Review and discussion of Oak Harbor Municipal Code 1.30.010 requirements for sale or other disposition of city real property. Introducing today is Senior Planner Ray Lindenberg.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. We were going through some kind of reviews of our process in the Oak Harbor Municipal Code, as we do sometimes, and our legal staff was also assisting with that. We found a section of code that is a little bit concerning as far as process by which the city can dispose of property, and by dispose of, I mean sell, trade, exchange, etc. And in that section that addresses this 1.30.010, it references the need to have an election to sell property that is designated as a park. Our legal staff has determined that that is completely unprecedented in the state of Washington. We are the only city that requires that, and that it could present a situation where it slows down potential development or potential exchange of property in situations where we might really want it or need it, desire, et cetera, for economic development and other reasons. So the concept here is to remove that requirement, and essentially what the reasons behind that is number one, it significantly increases the amount of time that it would take to go through a process by which the city could sell one of these parcels of land or a portion of a parcel of land or exchange it. The cost of that election would also be borne by the city. We would have to pay for that election and all of the things that go along with that. And then it would be required for any transfer, including that those were be beneficial, that they have to be an equal value proposition. So there's the standard by that that we have to go through to determine what that equal value is. Like I mentioned, legal staff is not aware of an election requirement in any other Washington city. So those are some of the concerns that staff has with this process. This potential amendment essentially is striking a paragraph or a section of that code section to remove the election requirement, but it still allows for oversight by the City Council through a typical process of utilizing the same process that we have for just regular city-owned properties, which is to go before the City Council to determine the process by which we want to sell that, the price that we want to sell it at, et cetera. So there is still significant oversight by the City Council. It just removes the election requirement from it, which increases the amount of time and cost to that process. So what we feel like this potential amendment would allow for more nimble decision-making and potential for economic development and partnerships that could be affected much more quickly without having to go through that election process. So again, the proposed amendment is in your staff report there, or your packet. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Pretty straightforward. We essentially struck one section there that refers to an election. And if you have any questions or discussion comments, I'm here to answer any.
Thank you so much. Yes, with that, I will call on Councilmember Hoffmeyer.
Yeah, thanks for that. You know, unprecedented or not, you know, that is the ordinance that was on the books when individuals decided to donate certain parkland. So, I mean, with that, gosh, you know, it gets interesting. You know, upon donating a piece of land, you know, somebody could, you know, go through the steps to, you know, put something on the land title to where I guess it has to stay in public open space, et cetera, all along. But that's a step that hasn't thought to be needed because of this particular ordinance. So I guess I would certainly, based on that, would proceed with caution, I guess, at least. And I suppose that's all I have on that for now. I just know, like in particular, I mean, we're not, I mean, not just talking about the land down at City Beach where the ball fields are, you know, but that was, you know, part of the thought there, for instance. But more recently, you know, 4 years ago when the 3.5 acres out on Swantown was donated, I mean, I know that ordinance was something that individual was aware of when they decided to donate that as well. So would just proceed cautiously, I guess. Thank you.
Councilmember Stuckey.
So if we're going to put our cards on the table, I'm guessing part of the thrust of this was because of the Hilton. and that park in front of the Hilton. Is that kind of?
Yeah, this is not any specific project, but that would be affected. by it.
I get that, but so all I'm saying is if we do this, we have to be prepared for the optics of it. Because I think when we do that, if for some reason that property is needed for the Hilton, even though we'd be voting to do a land swap or selling that piece of property, it will be viewed as us, quote unquote, approving or not approving the Hilton based on a technicality. At least I think that's a good assumption. So just something to keep in mind that I'm not saying we shouldn't take the lead. It does seem odd that we're the only town that does that, but just keep in mind that something like this has the optics of looking more like approving or not approving a project that's related to it, more so than just the property itself. So just something to keep in mind. That's all.
Anyone else for the good of the order on this issue? Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we know historically why this language is included in this ordinance?
I do not know specifically why that was included in there. It's a relatively recent change within the last 20 years or so. I don't know if it was driven by some specific instance, situation that caused somebody to want to do that, but that's certainly more research that we can do and find out if there is anything specific that we can determine that brought that forward.
So I guess just speaking to the concerns that were presented, is my assumption would be if somebody donated land to the city and they wanted it to be deeded as parkland in perpetuity, then that would be on the title, right? Or that would be such. And then I guess my thought is, in discussion that we had yesterday during the meeting, I proposed the idea of a potential land swap. Well, if we were to look at like the Harbor Heights property, for example, that's 75 acres. Well, that was not voted on by the people to purchase that. Council chose to purchase that. If we wanted to use that as a potential, and I'm not saying this would be the case, but if we wanted to use that as a potential land swap, we want to be able to have the ability to do that. Council purchased it. Council should be able to have that freedom to be able to make that swap. And so, we accept public comment. We allow for anytime we make a decision like this, we'd allow for public comment. We'd allow for input. But I don't see us needing the time and the expense of going through an election. So, personally, I would support striking that language and allowing council to have that flexibility. So.
Yeah, I think you bring that up is that there's still the review process that we have going through that. There's the public notice that goes out before a city council meeting. There's the comment appeal, all that stuff that goes along with it. So it's just taking the election portion out of it. And like you said, a significant cost in time.
Great, thank you. Anyone else for the good of the order? Hearing nothing, thank you, Ray, for your presentation.
Thanks.
We'll move on.